Hello, welcome back to my channel. Today is quite a different video. It is a topic that's near and dear to my heart, and it is sympathy, intuition, and empathy. So those are the three topics that I want to briefly discuss. I'm not going to make this a very long video, but yes. So I have been always a very empathetic person. I think my whole entire life. I used to be really, really sensitive in school. Grade school, I was very ultra hypersensitive, where they would put me in special ed. And it was because my feelings always got hurt. I mean, if someone looked at me the wrong way, I was super, super shy. I would say all through school until about maybe fifth or sixth grade. I don't want to use the word awakening, but for a word that we all understand what awakening means. I was just always shy. And I think part of that may have been attributed to, I went to a different school every year. We were always moving around. I grew up in apartments, and I grew up in a divorced family. No hard feelings or anything like that. But every time we moved, the rent would go up. We had to move. That always meant a new school district. So I do have memories of preschool, going to one school, and I had this education in Florida. I was born in Miami, Florida, and for the first 4 or 5 years, I guess, or maybe more than that, I was born in Miami, Florida, but at 10 months, my family moved to Phoenix, Arizona. So technically, I was born in Miami, Florida. My family moved to Phoenix, Arizona, and then at age 4, back to Miami, Florida. And so yeah, I remember preschool in Florida. I have memories of it. It was called Good Shepherd. And I also have memories of kindergarten. And then first grade, that's when it started a different school. And second grade was a different school. Third grade was a different school. And let's see, right before, while I was in fourth grade, I went to the first year of fourth grade in Florida, but then my family moved to Connecticut. And then I repeated fourth grade, and I went to 2 different schools. So then, because I went to fourth grade for 2 years, it was 3 schools total for fourth grade. And in fifth grade, that is when I have a memory of being always shy and crying and just feeling like, where's my place in the world and that type of thing. And then I looked around me and just something happened where I didn't want to be the shy person anymore. So I just started being more of a chatterbox and talking. And I realized the more I was talking with people, I was getting to know different people, and I stopped being so sensitive. So I don't know if there is a correlation with that, but that is what happened in fifth grade. And in sixth grade, it was actually the only school that was fifth and sixth grade. I remember fifth and sixth grade was one school. And then seventh grade was a different school. Eighth grade was a different school. And ninth grade was 3 different schools, and so forth. You get the idea. So, yes, back then, of course, I didn't like that, especially being having a lot of feels. But now I am so thankful because I am super resilient now. And while I still feel that I am sensitive, if I think too hard about something, I start to feel my lips quiver, and I feel like I'm feeling all the feels. So that actually hasn't changed. But I'm very resilient. I could go with the flow. Things can happen in my life, and I'm able to turn over a new leaf pretty quickly. I feel like that is my superpower. I'm resilient. And I think going through all that as a child, going to different schools and having always different friends and meeting different people has made me that way. But I think being very empathetic has stayed with me. And I do feel like that might be hereditary because that is how my father is. My father can just look at you and start crying. He's full of feels. And I have struggled with that as a parent, as a wife. I have struggled with being empathetic. I will put here the definition of empathy and how it differs from having sympathy and intuition. All three of those I feel like sort of go hand in hand. And when I say empathetic, it's feeling so, like when someone tells me something happened, if someone's crying, or maybe they've had a breakup, or XYZ, fill in the blank, if I'm hearing it, I feel like it's happening to me. And I start having symptoms like that. Times when people have told me, verbalized, they've had such a headache or even toothache, and I start focusing on it, where then I have a headache and I have a toothache, which is very odd. But empathy, while I think it is very good, it could be a blessing, but it could also be a curse. I can't watch, I'm not desensitized over news, robberies, killings, abuse. I've never been desensitized to all of that. So I have to be very careful with what I view. Movies, music, and just story time. Like I can't watch crime stories because I will start feeling that stuff is happening to me. And that's when it's becomes, I think, a curse and a burden. Okay, so that pretty much, I feel like we all know what empathy is, but to the mass of you're feeling so many feels, you have to remove yourself from that situation or detach yourself entirely so you're not in constant feels of that, and you can't, like, it's affecting your life, your family life, your relationships. And so I have had to do that, I feel like, throughout my adult life, actually. And so then that's being empathetic, you know, and empathy is understanding and walking alongside with someone who is feeling a certain way. And I feel like I am able to do that with strangers. I can't do that with close friends, and I definitely can't do that with my children. I can't, some things you'd rather not know, okay? Because once you do start to know things about things that people are going through, you take it on you, and I feel like it's on me that I'm actually going through it, and it's affecting me mentally. Once it starts affecting me mentally, it starts affecting me physically. So I find that very interesting. So let's move on to sympathy. When someone says, oh, you're such a sympathetic person, what does that mean? Because I have been told that my whole life, oh, you're so sympathetic. And I would rather be just sympathetic instead of being so hardcore empathetic, if I'm being honest, because I think sympathy is never a curse. It's just a plus. And if you hear of a friend that has someone that has passed away, being a sympathetic person is, oh my goodness, you know, I'm so sorry. You know, is there anything I could do? You know, you're feeling for them, but you're not taking it on you where you've just lost someone and someone just close to you has died. So from my experience as a middle-aged 50-plus woman, those are the differences that I have found, where I am sympathetic, but I think it's actually empathy. Because again, if an average Joe that is sympathetic can feel sad for a person that is struggling and going through a hard time, but they're not going to be losing sleep over it, and they're not feeling it so deeply where they're crying and they've got a journal about it where it's happening to them. And so I think for me personally, if anybody hopefully out there can relate to being a strong, empathetic person, again, it could be quite a burden. And that leads me into intuition. I have always been highly intuitive. I'm trying to think of the first time that I felt, and I think I was a child. I have a memory of feeling like something bad was happening in the next room, and it was, which I won't tell you what happened, but I was having a feeling, and that was when I was a child. And again, when I was a mother, there's been too many times to count, actually, as a mother, of feeling like something bad is happening, and then, you know, then finding out it did, you know, and just having a strong intuition. Now, one story I could share was about 15 years ago. I had a new friend who wanted me to have my kids sleep over her house, and I had a feeling that some abuse was happening in that house. And you can't just tell your friend, especially a new friend, that you don't trust, someone who's living in their house just because, you're seen as a goofball. You're probably seen as kind of crazy if you just say you have a feeling and no proof to back it up. But being a strong intuitive person and having a very strong intuition, which is something that I later found out my grandmother prayed for me, and I've always actually also as a mother have prayed that my kids would have wisdom and be strong emotionally, and I've always prayed that my kids would be strong and have an intuition. Be alert and have something in your head tell you that something bad is going to happen before it happens. Okay, wouldn't it be so great if we all had premonitions and we all had that feeling? Maybe that would be good. I don't know if it would, but I kind of think it might be good. So backtrack to 15 years ago. I had just like an ick feeling, a feeling that no, my kids can't. And we did sleepovers. I wasn't the type of parent that like, oh, no sleepovers. I have good memories of having sleepovers as a child, and I wanted my kids to also experience that. So, I was always open to sleepovers. So I thought it was interesting that I always allowed my children to have sleepovers, but this one particular new friend, I had a bad feeling. And so, I'm trying to think. I think it was like a birthday party that was going to be a slumber party. It was so long ago. And I think what me and my husband did is we took our kids over to their house, and the mother asked me again, hey, all the girls are sleeping over. Can't your kids sleep over? And I said no. And I was constantly then asked why? Like, why? Like, all the other mothers are okay. Like, what's wrong with you? And, when you're up against a wall like that, you have to ask yourself, are you going to be honest and lose a friend over it if they're not going to understand and think you're a Fruit Loop? Or are you just going to beat around the bush and not say anything? Well, I decided to, just be honest. Just be honest with her. And I told her that I have a feeling that so-and-so that was living in her house was doing inappropriate things with her children. And I did lose the friend. She told me I was crazy and what a horrible thing to say. And then she gave me some examples of, of course you're crazy. It would never happen. This person, is doing this, this, and this, and gave me examples. And all the examples she gave me were red flags. As a mom and as a parent, they were all red flags. And then I verbalized like, well, heck no, it was kind of like a hell no, type of situation after then hearing all that. To make a long story short, let's see, I'm going to say about 2 years later, the person in her household is currently in jail, and it was going on. So my intuition was right. And along those same lines, I had another person I met, and I had a strong intuition. Some bad things were happening in their house, and then full circle come to find out that they were. So again, when you think of intuition, here's the definition of intuition. Even if you are, I don't personally drive, but I've heard many stories and read stories about, you're driving along and you have that little voice tell you to not go left, go right, and you're telling yourself, no, but left is quicker. I can get home faster. I can get to XYZ. I can get to where I need to go faster. And you're having this little voice tell you, no, don't do that. Go the other way. And so people that listen to that voice and do go the extra mile then come to find out later on the news there was an accident. There was an accident that could have been their accident, but there was an accident or something happened. Whereas if they would have went the other way, they would have, possibly, been in it. So those are little ways, intuition. I feel like it would be great if we all had a great intuition. I always try to pause before I make plans, before I do anything. I try to pause in my head and really think about it, because I I'm waiting for that little voice. And it always reminds me of those old Tom and Jerry episodes of the good mouse, bad mouse on the shoulder, one telling you to do it, one mouse telling you not to do it. We all grew up with those animations, and they were just kind of funny and nothing back then. But now as an adult, I'm finding that it's very, very good to listen to your intuition. And if something is, not serving you well, making you feel, a certain way, you have to detach yourself and you have to listen to it. And I feel like it's because of my resiliency of not just going to different schools all throughout my school age. It was always different bedrooms. As a kid, you have your bedroom. Of course, you have your whole house, but like your bedroom is your own personal space. And we were moving every year. And as a child, I hated that. And I always vowed that I would never do that, that my kids weren't going to go to a whole bunch of schools and we weren't going to move constantly. Those things are always super important. When you're an adult, things that you didn't like about your childhood, you tend to just, history repeats itself. You then reverse it. Then your children will grow up and they'll do the opposite of how they were raised, and their children then will come back and raise their kids like grandma raised, or it does seem like that's just the way the ball bounces. That's the way it is. But I look back now and I'm very resilient, and I am very thankful for my capabilities of detaching and going with the flow and being resilient and not taking life too seriously. All those type of things that I struggled with as a child have been such a blessing, and I'm so thankful now looking back. But the one thing that still stays with me and I have not mastered is being super hyper empathetic and having just so many feels. And sometimes it comes off as the opposite of empathy, because if I'm hearing a story or someone stops me while I'm out, if a stranger stops me, or I'm hearing a story that's so sad, I have to detach and cut myself and to not think about it, because if I'm there and invested and giving the person the sympathy that they need, the empathy, I'm doing then a disservice to myself, because I'm feeling all their feels and it's not benefiting me anyway. It may be benefiting the other person. And if you're capable of taking all that heavy anchor sort of feeling of everybody else's baggage, so to speak, I don't know how counselors do it. I think of being like a therapist, and I guess they've mastered the detachment so much where they're able to just poker face anything and everything, regardless of how bad it is. That's the only thing I could think of, because therapists aren't really sympathetic people. I don't feel like they're empathetic people. But yet they're not, cold as ice. That's not what I'm saying. But they are able to hear things. I think of people in law enforcement, police officers, people that have to deal with crime, abuse, anything like that. I would never be able to do. Guidance counselor for a school, because when I hear those things, it's too much, and it's become a burden. And I've found that as I am getting older, I do find that interesting. Comment below if you are here because you are super empathetic. People tend to use the term empath, which I think it's kind of a made-up word. It's not some sort of supernatural superpower that a lot of books and YouTube channels and a lot of stuff on the internet, when I've done searches and I've read things about being an empath, it gets a little dark. And so that is just not for me. It's just not for me. So I think the world would call me an empath because I have my strong intuition and the way that I tend to feel things as if if I'm going through it. And it's not just bad stuff, it's happy stuff too. And then I think that's kind of a blessing. So if someone's going through something and they're super happy and they're joyful, and I'm feeling, I want to say, their energy, which also isn't kind of a hocus pocus thing. You can't really feel people's energy per se, but they do say that if you're around a bunch of negative Nancys, you become negative Nancy, and I will vouch for that. I do have some family members that are super, super Debbie Downers and negative, and I just can't be around them. I start to feel that. So if you're around people that are super energetic, bubbly, and or happy, you know, just happy, maybe they got a new job, maybe they got a new dog, an animal, something, they're super happy. I'm able to be around those people and I am happy with them. Like, I am so happy. Like, if someone stood next to me and scratched off a lotto ticket and won $1 million, I would be so happy and I would feel like I won the $1 million, even though I didn't, but I would be able to share their joy with them. And I think that's more of charismatic and charisma. And I also feel like I get that from my father as well. He's very charismatic. And like everyone, you know, around him just feels like they're number one, feels very special. And I think that's also a very good quality to get. I don't know if that is something that you're born with or something that I learned trait. But I do share in people's joy, just like I share in people's sorrow and sadness. But it's very difficult to find that balance, because if someone stops me while I'm out, and I do feel like I am a magnet when I'm out, I feel like I'm a magnet. I'm going about my business. I'm not frowning. I may be smiling. I don't know. While I'm walking, I am approached probably, I'm going to say 8 out of every 10 times I leave the house, I'm approached by people, not in a creepy way, although sometimes there's a creepy way, but I mean, most of the time it's not a creepy way. It's people just randomly talking about, you know, they lost a loved one, you know, they lost their pet, they need some sort of surgery, and it starts a conversation. You know, I will stop because I do feel like relationships are important. I feel like it takes so much time and effort to nurture relationships. And, you know, in today's world, everybody just tends to just call it quits. And so that's the way the world we live in. But while I am out and about, when people stop and tell me their story, yes, I'm not asking to hear their story, but I'm going to sit there and I'm going to sympathize with them. I am going to I'm going to be empathetic with them. And as soon as they start talking to me, lots of times I have to hear what they're saying and try not to feel their pain, because I start feeling pain in my own heart. My heart starts beating. And like I said, I've got headaches before, and I feel what they're feeling, where I just want to hug them and cry. And that is probably not beneficial for either one of us. So a lot of times I just can't. And as I find that I'm getting older, I just can't handle bad news anymore. I can't handle negativity, and I can't handle conflict, and I can't handle bad things, basically bad things. I'm trying to think of, like, that just sounds so juvenile to say bad things. I'm not talking about like bad dreams or whatever, but I choose very wisely who I will give my time to, because your time is precious, and it's the only thing you can't ever get back is your time. So that is pretty much it. This little chit-chatty 20-minute video. I hope if somebody is out there and they could relate to me and relate to being empathetic, or maybe called an empath, and you know, maybe they found the balance. Maybe you haven't found the balance. If you found the balance, shoot up the comments below and let me know what that balance is and how you achieve that, because I am an avid reader. I've read tons of books. I'm reading a book even right now about it, about trying to find that balance. And I really don't know. I mean, I'm pretty black-white where that's concerned, and I don't know where the balance is regarding, you know, empathy and your intuition and being sympathetic. I think I have the intuition down right, and I think that it should be everybody's superpower, and I think it should be something we strive to have, a good intuition and to listen to our intuition about people, because I feel like that's like our safety net, and we were born with an intuition, and we either nurture it and help it to grow, or we just keep on ignoring it and keep on screwing up our lives. So anyways, I will end there, and maybe I'll do some more of these chit-chatty videos in the future. It is new to my channel, but I do want to start branching out with some story times. So thank you so much for watching, and I hope you all take care. Bye-bye.